So today we're going to be working on something very different from what we usually get, right? This is a case backhoe, right? Model 580 ST, which is having a DPF issue, right? It's a 2016 model, and the problem that it is having is that every time they are operating this equipment, it will then start to show an engine D rate sign, and then it will not rev beyond 2000 RPMs. That's pretty much the story that's happening on this equipment, and this is the very same exact thing that happens even on the smaller vehicles that we usually work on, right? Pretty much when you start to have a DPF problem, right, an emission system failure, you are going to see your engine starting to deliberately limit power because it is saying go and buy a brand new DPF or go and replace whatever component so that it begins to work, right? Basically, that's what's happening here. So particularly for this equipment, it actually had two issues, not just DPF, but it also has got an AdBlue system, or which we call a selective catalytic reductant system, right? The whole point of it is it's just an after treatment system to lower the emissions of the equipment, right? So with our smaller vehicles, you'd find we've got our Euro 4. Now, when on these off highways, they call them the Tier 4, which will come with these emission systems. Okay, so the code that it will show when it will start to have these issues is the one that you're looking at on the screen. For this particular equipment, you don't necessarily require diagnostic tool, because inside the instrument cluster itself, it will actually tell you what fault codes, or it will tell you the fault codes, and if you've got the manual, you can easily decode from the manual what it really means, right? So pretty much that's the story with this equipment, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be converting it to non-DPF. So similar equipment that is coming from South Africa, right, comes with no DPF systems, comes with no AdBlue system. So this one came all the way from Europe, right? It is actually owned by an NGO, right? And the NGO simply is involved in some demining exercises within the southern African region, right? So basically, they brought this equipment from the UK. They didn't buy from South Africa. Their sponsor just gave them the equipment from the UK, and they started to use them. And as you know, our fuel here in Africa is pretty horrible fuel. So definitely, they only operated it, I think, for like a year, right? I think, and it came as a brand new equipment, right? It was brand new, straight from the box, straight from the papers, whatever you want to call it, and it only worked for I think a year or two, and then problems began. And this is the problem that it is having. It will not rev beyond 2000 RPMs, and the power is it doesn't even lift anything. I mean, when we try to operate it, it was just so weak and sluggish. That's the situation which is on this equipment. So what we're going to be simply doing is converting it to non-DPF and non-AdBlue, like the ones that are coming from South Africa. And after that, you're going to see a significant improvement in its power, right? It should be able to do its duties as it would normally do. So at the moment, as you can see, it will not rev beyond 2000 RPMs, right? At the same time, it is showing a stop signal, a stop sign in the dashboard. It is also making that constant annoying beeping sound, right? And we're really going to do two things here, right? The first stage is dealing with the hardware, right? The hardware system of the DPF and AdBlue. And then the second thing, we're going to deal with the computer part, right? So the first part of it is where we are simply converting the exhaust to be a free-flowing exhaust, right? The exhaust has got that DPF catalyst and another part that also deals with the AdBlue, right? Which has got an AdBlue injector which squirts your AdBlue, your emission fluid into the exhaust. So all that is going to be disconnected, all that is going to be removed, and we're going to have a free-flowing exhaust. That's the first thing that's going to happen. The second thing that's going to happen is we're going to go to the computer. On the computer, we're simply going to reprogram it. We're simply going to remap it so as to deal with the DPF algorithm, right? The one that operates that DPF system and the one that also operates the AdBlue system. So after having done that, we're going to have a perfect vehicle, right? We're going to have perfect an equipment that operates without those emission systems, right? So like I'd explained earlier on, these systems tend to fail here in Africa due to our horrible fuel quality, right? That's one, right? And I would also say that the moment that you see, I mean, it doesn't matter exactly where you are, whether you're in Africa or you're outside of Africa, the moment that you see an equipment or vehicle giving you a DPF problem, the likelihood of it giving you those same DPF problems in the future is pretty high, right? There is obviously an underlying issue that causes those DPF problems to happen, right? So if you don't go and find those issues and resolve those issues, you're still going to have those DPFs again. So usually when you've got this kind of a problem, you've got two options. The first option is to go and buy a brand new DPF, right? Now, buying a brand new DPF is pretty expensive, as I've probably highlighted, right? It's probably very expensive, right? And then the second solution is obviously ours, where we are converting it to non-DPF. So going on ahead with the first solution, without you finding what the underlying factors that have been causing that DPF to fail in the first place, you are just wasting money. It's as good as you're just throwing money into the toilet and flushing it, right? Because when you buy a brand new DPF, I mean, I've seen people spend at least $7,000 on a brand new DPF, which only works for just 2 weeks. All right, you understand? So you're going to buy a brand new DPF, fit it on the equipment, and it's just going to work for a short period of time, and then you've got your problems back biting you again, right? And I mean, having to fork out that kind of money over and over again when it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like I said, here in Africa, the main reason why these things fail is due to our horrible quality of fuel. So if you are in Europe, right, if you are in Europe or in a first world country where you've got your emission laws, my advice to you is, first of all, find out what has caused that your DPF to clog, your DPF to have issues before you go ahead and buy a brand new one. Of course, you may try that process of regeneration, you may try all other kinds of process, but when they have failed, when they are now failing and you are now supposed to buy a brand new DPF, first of all, find out what caused that DPF to fail before you buy a brand new DPF. Here in our country, where we don't have such emission laws, we can just go ahead and delete the system, which is exactly what we are doing on this system. We're on this particular equipment. We're getting rid of it, and when we've gotten rid of that system, we'll never have DPF issues again. In fact, that goes on to the next, the biggest question people ask me, which is to say, when you've done this conversion to non-DPF, what are the downsides? I mean, are you not affecting anything? Yeah, are you not? Is the car going to perform, or the equipment going to perform after that? Now, the answer to that is yes, it's going to perform, and there are no downsides. And this, I kid you not, there are no downsides whatsoever. In fact, your vehicle would actually become even better having done this conversion. Why? Is because those DPF systems have been implemented or forced upon manufacturers by your emission law. I mean, by those emission laws in those first world countries, right? So the problem with those emission systems that have been brought upon is that those emission systems fail, and when they fail, they start to cause issues with the vehicle itself, with the performance of the vehicle itself. Like, for example, when that DPF has become fully clogged, what's going to happen is that there's going to be back pressure which is going to come and destroy the turbo, right? Which is the biggest issue which happens on any vehicle which has got a DPF. The turbo is really at risk of being damaged by the DPF system, right? Which is what really happens, really. Yeah. So doing that conversion, what it means is that your turbo is going to be breathing better, right? And there's not going to be any back pressure, which means your engine will last even longer, right? That's the biggest benefit that's going to come. Your engine will perform better and it will last even longer. And also in terms of fuel consumption, it will also improve. The reason why that fuel consumption is going to improve is because a vehicle which has got a DPF system deliberately overfuels. It's the computer which from time to time measures the state of the DPF and starts to overfuel, right? So as to raise the exhaust temperatures of that DPF, right? So when you have done a DPF delete, when you have converted it to non-DPF, what it means is that that computer is not going to try to, look for the DPF or look for the state of the DPF and overfuel. So there's going to be some saving in terms of your fuel, right? So those are the benefits that are going to come your way, right? You understand? And then for the AdBlue system, we are saying that simply because from time to time you are having to fill up that AdBlue tank, what if you go on your spreadsheet and calculate all the AdBlue that you are buying over a period of 1 year, right? And we are saying that having converted it to non-AdBlue, you're not going to spend that money. I mean, that's a huge saving. You understand? So basically, that's our solution at this. That's the solution that we implement, and it really doesn't matter where you are, right? Whether you are here in Africa or outside of Africa, you can always give us a shout. You can even contact us on our details on the screen, and if you need help, I mean, you can talk to us and we can see how we can help you, right? I think we have helped a lot of people all over the world, and basically that's how we do it, and that is our solution. So having worked this equipment that you were looking at, here's a video of how it began to perform, how it really started to rev. You hear those beeping sounds have gone away. Those stop signs which were coming in the dashboard, they've also gone away. So yeah, pretty much that's what we do. Feedback. Para simudzani gitu. Right, so